All right, all right, all right. Hey, everybody. Well, first of all, good morning. I've been awake for about 10 minutes. So I'm trying something new. I'm just trying this in the morning. Let's see how this works. I'm not really a morning person, but I did want to get this out before the news got stale. So the other day, I watched on Saturday, I guess, the Donald Trump spoke at the Libertarian Convention, and I'll tell you why later, thought it was one of his best speeches. Amazing. So imagine my shock and surprise when I saw it covered like this. This was so typical. The Drudge Report. I don't know how to focus this, but there we go. Oh, no, I don't know. How does this work? There we go. So yeah, anyway, a little fuzzy, but basically for those just listening, yeah, it says booed, comma, heckled at Libertarian Convention. The Don loses control. Video MAGA does not want you to see. Well, first of all, you should see it, and I'll tell you why. It was one of Trump's best speeches. First of all, it was great because Donald Trump, is showing he's willing to go into enemy territory. He went into the Bronx, which was triumphant. He was loved. He was embraced. He was cheered. It was amazing. But even more interesting, he went to the Libertarian Convention where it was known in advance that a lot of people were against him. The audience was a mix of anti-Trump people and probably some people that didn't care either way, and then some pro-Trump people. And then there were also RFK Jr. had been giving people rubber chickens that I guess make a noise. So there was protest signs, there was anti-Trumpers booing him, there was a partially hostile audience. Plus, not for nothing, no Republican had spoken at their convention, at least not in my lifetime. And it's sort of unheard of for a political candidate to go to another party's convention and give a speech. I mean, Ronald Reagan wouldn't go to the Democrat convention. Joe Biden wouldn't go to the Republican convention or even the Socialist convention, although that would kind of make sense for him. So it just shows a contrast between him and Donald Trump. So that was amazing. But here's where I thought it was super cool. So Donald Trump goes into hostile territory. He knows it's going to be hostile on day one. So what does he do? He shows up at the convention. He starts giving a speech. Already they're booing. They have these free Ross signs, this Ross Ulbricht, that is the Silk Road guy that opened up basically a Craigslist type website for illegal drugs and stuff like that. But didn't necessarily do any crimes himself beyond just hosting a platform. Well, he's kind of a bad guy, but not the worst. He's been in jail for 11 years. He's a big cause for libertarians. So those people are dominating. And Donald Trump just shows up and they're booing. He doesn't really react to it. He just sort of lays out a bunch of stuff. So there's some people cheering. There's a lot of people booing. But he just plows through. He's listing stuff that libertarians like. So he's saying, hey, I'm going to support gun rights. I'm going to support free speech, stuff like that. And then the people are still booing. So it's kind of, they're almost looking like the assholes because they're booing him as he's saying, hey, these are all the things I want to do. So just when, that's sort of happening, he actually takes a moment and he's like, he introduces the concept of winning. It's like, hey, guys, you always lose. If you want to win, vote for me. So he sort of plants the seed. And he also sort of sets them right. Like, hey, I'm basically offering you what you want. So what are you talking about? But it's still, he hasn't won him over. He's not even trying to win him over. He's just sort of setting up, hey, I support what you support. Also, I'm going to introduce this idea of winning to you guys because you guys always lose, and just saying, hey, it's a deal. If you vote for me, you will get some wins. And if and then if you vote for me, then the other part of the deal is, I will get your vote. But also Trump is a master art of the deal kind of guy. So he offers them something. He says, hey, there's never been a libertarian in the presidential cabinet, at least not in decades. So I promise you, if elected, I will put a libertarian on my candidate. Now, that's not even a huge give for Donald Trump because he probably means Rick Grinnell, who's his former director of national intelligence, DNI, a guy, but he's a gay libertarian, also, a Republican, a libertarian Republican. So basically, libertarians get somebody on the cabinet. Donald Trump already knows he's going to put Rick Grinnell on there anyway, but it's still a win-win. So now anybody that's booing Trump in the audience really looks like an asshole because they basically just offered him something that no one would ever offer them. Certainly Joe Biden wouldn't offer them. But it's still, he hasn't won them over yet. It's getting a little bit better. And then he sort of has an ace in a pocket. He says, if I'm elected on day one, I won't pardon, he says, but he goes, I will commute the sentence of Ross Ulbricht. So they go freaking crazy. And once again, this is a little bit of a risk for Donald Trump because this guy is considered sort of a bad guy. He's not a super great guy, but he served 11 years in jail for this website that, the libertarian support, this idea that, you should be able to open up a platform. And to be honest, it's not that much, it's a bit different, but it's along the same lines of you wouldn't convict the guy that started Craigslist for prostitution because prostitutes use Craigslist to advertise on. So anyway, it's not a terrible cause. So the libertarians go crazy. So now really, Trump has said, if you give me your vote, 1, you'll win. 2, you'll get somebody on the cabinet. And 3, your biggest cause that you've ever wanted, you will get, we'll get Ross out of jail because that will never happen. Oh, by the way, he's serving 2 life sentences in jail. So this is a major get for them. So anyway, that was, so I think it was his greatest speech. He went into hostile territory. He sort of pretty much won them over. And also, he's never going to get the nomination. So the point wasn't to go there and get the nomination for their nominee for president because, one, their policies are such that even though they held a vote on it, they won't put someone on their ticket that's already on another, is another major party's candidate. And also, Donald Trump didn't even put in the paperwork to be considered as one of their things. So it wasn't about that. It's just about, hey, libertarians get about 3% of the vote in some elections. I might be able to peel off some of them. And I bet they, he's going to get some libertarian votes. I would bet, who knows? I don't have the numbers, but I bet he gets up to, half of the libertarians that vote will vote for him because they will get everything that they sort of knew they'd get anyway, but they'll get gun rights, they'll get First Amendment rights, they'll get less government regulation, and all the other things I just talked about. Now, that was my opinion before they picked their official nominee. So the Libertarians had some pretty good people. They had Michael Reckenwald, who I love. Reckenwald, who's a professor turned podcaster, was a true libertarian and a super smart guy, but they didn't pick him. So the Libertarians, to some degree, have been taken over, especially in states like Libertarian Party of New York and California and all this, have been taken over by leftists. So it is sort of, it's not a true libertarian John Locke kind of party anymore. It's sort of a left-wing party to some degrees. Also, there's no official litmus test or anything. So really anyone that wants to call himself call himself a libertarian can. But having said this, and this is good news for Donald Trump, the Libertarians did pick somebody. They did finally, after 8 rounds of voting, choose a presidential nominee, this guy called Chase Oliver. Now, Chase is a former Democrat, former Obama supporter, and obviously people can change, but where he's coming from is, it could be an indicator. So this he supports open borders, he supports gender transition for children, he supports mask and vaccine mandates. That doesn't seem very libertarian. He supports drag queen story hours for children. And he also believes in the climate hoax. Now he says, businesses should, be able to solve it on their own without government. But just the fact that he's dumb enough to believe in the climate hoax is, all of these things. And then also, especially, he believes in vaccine mandates and open borders. and gender transition for children, supports that. He's going to, I think a lot of libertarians just are not going to be down with him. I think he's a terrible choice for them, which is good news for Donald Trump. Anyway, that's just my thoughts. I do think it was one of Donald Trump's greatest speeches for all the reasons listed. And it also shows that no other candidate is doing stuff like this. So I think this is good news for Donald Trump. And, so unlike the major headline that called it, Trump confronts repeated booing, Trump furiously jeered as he taunts libertarians, no wannabe dictators Donald Trump booed, Trump tried to rewrite what happened at the Libertarian Convention, Donald Trump booed, Trump used to friendly crowds, confronts repeated boos. Excellent synopsis, blah, blah. Anyway, basically, this was my Google thing. I just printed out all the headlines. Every single one for the first 3 pages was negative. But I just want you guys to know the truth, that it was actually one of his greatest, maybe his greatest speech. And he went on for 45 minutes to a hostile audience, and he hit it out of the park. Anyway, this is Neil News Network. Good day.